Section 4.1, Graphing Equations in Slope-Intercept Form. Essential question. How do you graph an equation that is written in slope-intercept form? If you have graph paper for this lesson, I would use that because that is what we'll be doing in this lesson. The slope-intercept form equation is y equals mx plus b. M represents our slope, or our rise over run. B represents our y-intercept, or where the line crosses the y-axis. Write the equation in slope-intercept form, then graph. Well, let's remind ourselves first of all what our slope-intercept form looks like. Y equals mx plus b. We said m was our slope. B is our y-intercept. So now let's write that equation on the right-hand side, but replace the values into the equation. Y equals, our slope m is 3/4 x, and then our y-intercept is -2. Even though our equation says plus, if our value, which is 2, is negative, it'll be a negative sign. So this is our equation in slope-intercept form. Here is how you graph. You're always going to graph your y-intercept first. One easy way to remember your y-intercept is it's the number without the x. So our slope has the x next to it, our y-intercept does not. That's what we want to graph first. Since my y-intercept is -2, I'm going to go on the y-axis to -2 and put a dot. Goes on the y-axis. Then I'm going to put my pencil on this dot. From this dot, I'm going to rise 3. So I'm rising 3, running 4. Again, from this dot. Don't start from the origin. You have to start from this dot. So rise 1, 2, 3, run 1, 2, 3, 4. If you want to make another dot, you can, but I'm going to go from the dot I just made. Rise 1, 2, 3, run 1, 2, 3, 4. If I connect my line, I can show you the rise and run again. So I rose 1, 2, 3, ran 1, 2, 3, 4, rose 1, 2, 3, ran 1, 2, 3, 4. So there is my equation and my graph for the line. This time we have a slope of -1/2 and a y-intercept of 3. Again, I'm going to put that into my y equals mx plus b equation. Now keep in mind the equation is called slope-intercept form because they give you a slope and an intercept. We'll get to different forms in future lessons, but it's good to know that they call this slope-intercept form because the equation should give you a slope and an intercept. So y equals, I'm going to replace m with my slope, which is -1/2, and I'm going to replace b with 3. This is my equation. Now remember on the last slide I said we always graph our y-intercept first, and we're always going to do that on the y-axis. The number next to the x is our slope. We do that one second. So I'm going to go to my y-axis and put a dot on +3. That's my y-intercept. And then from that dot, you'll notice this time we have a slope of a -1/2. I always like to put the negative with the top number, and then I keep the bottom number positive. So -1, +2. So I'm going to rise -1, which means go down 1, rise +2, which means going to the right 2. Down 1, right 2. Down 1, right 2. Again, if that helps you, down 1. So we went down 1, and then to the right 2 each time. And I can connect my dots with a line. This time our slope is 5, our y-intercept is negative 7. So y equals mx plus b. They give me a slope, they give me an intercept, so I can put it in slope-intercept form. Y equals, my slope is 5, my y-intercept is negative 7. So here is my equation. Ask yourself, what number am I going to graph first? Well, I want to graph the y-intercept first, the one that's not with the x. So I'm going to go down to negative 7 on my y-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now I've got a whole number for my slope, but remember that 5 can be written as 5 over 1. We always want our slope to be in a fraction form because we need our rise and run. So I'm going to rise 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, run 1. Rise 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, run 1. I could keep making as many dots as I wanted to, but usually I'm going to do 3 because that'll give me a good idea of what my line looks like. This time our slope is negative 5, 7, so I'm just going to go ahead and put that right into my equation. My y-intercept is a negative 2/3 this time, so I have a fraction for my y-intercept. Well, if you think about negative 2/3, that's the same as negative 0.6 repeating. Negative 6.6 repeating is in between 0 and negative 1, so I'm going to put my dot in between 0 and negative 1. Now for my slope, I have to rise negative 5, run 7. Remember, if I have a negative slope, I always make the top number negative, the bottom one positive. Negative 5, so I'm going to be in between lines here, which is okay. So I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Notice how I'm putting my dot. It's kind of hard to tell in between 2 lines. Then I'm going to run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And actually, I don't need this dot. That was just for my rise. So there I've got my line. So I rose negative 5, ran 7. This time we have to write an equation for the line. This should be a review from chapter 3. We have done this before. So y equals my m, remember that's my rise over run or my slope. So I'm going to count my slope first. So I'm going to pick 2 dots to use. You can choose any 2, it doesn't matter. I'm going to pick this one and this one. So I'm rising negative, because I'm going down, negative 2, running 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to move my equation down here a little bit. I rose negative 2, ran 3, and then I've got to look at the B, which is my y-intercept. Where does my line cross the y-axis? My line crosses the y-axis right there at that dot, which is at positive 3 on that number line. So this is my equation. So this is just showing you can do the same thing both ways. You can write an equation and then graph, or you can graph and then write an equation. Same thing, y equals mx plus b. M is my rise over run, so I'm going to pick 2 dots. I'll choose these 2, any 2 would work. Rise, 1, 2, 3, run, 1. Now remember, 3 over 1 is the same as 3. You can leave it as 3 over 1 if you want to. I usually write it as a whole number. B, my y-intercept, well, my red line crosses the y-axis right there, which is at negative 1. So this is my equation for the line. Y equals my slope. I'm going to pick 2 points here and here. Rise negative 1, run 1, 2. So negative 1/2 is my slope. My line crosses the y-axis right here, which is at positive 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember, your y-intercept is where the line intersects with the y-axis. This time we have a horizontal line. So let's figure out what our slope is. Well, we don't have any dots, so I could pick 2. I'm rising 0 because I'm not going up or down at all, and then I'm just running 2. So if I rise 0 and run 2, 0 divided by any number is 0. So I can put 0x, and then my line crosses the y-axis at positive 2. Now you really don't need the 0x in there because it's nothing, so our equation is just y equals 2. And now we have a vertical line. Y equals, I'm going to make my own dots because there aren't any. So I'm rising 2, running 0. So 2 over 0, if I do 2 divided by 0, I get an error. So I'm not going to put any slope in my equation. And then my line crosses the y-axis. Well, it doesn't cross the y-axis. Which axis does it cross? It crosses the x-axis. So this one's a little tricky. We're actually going to write x equals, and then my line crosses the x-axis right here, which is positive 3. So my equation is x equals 3. Summary. The homework for this lesson is pages 217 through 219, numbers 1 through 4, 11 through 14, 17 to 22, and 33 to 36.